Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
The curtain of night is drawn back. The telescopes are trained. The domes are open. The audience is set. Now, step into...
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. It is another Friday evening, and this one happens to be October the 12th, 2018, 9 o'clock in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America. Universal time, that would put it at 1 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, October the 13th, 2018 again. Welcome, everybody, for our next hour of live astronomy presentation. My name is Marty Coons with my co-host.
Good evening, it's me, Nicky Betts, 2 Echo 0, Lima, Uniform November, CQ.
I'm glad to have everybody listening in, and don't forget we've got our chat room available if you want to join us and talk to us while we talk to you. So come on over, go to the homepage, astronomy.fm, and look where it says chat. So click on that, type in a name, forget the password, just go right to the word login, and you'll be here. So far we've got me and you, Glenn. We've got, me and you, Nick. We've got Glenn, Andre, Starstorm.
Glenn's going to love that one.
Recon, and In the Quiet Wood. Glad to have you here joining us this evening. Everybody saying hello in the chat room. Yep.
Hello, everybody.
And of course, we open it up to anybody has questions for us. We'd be more than happy to answer them on air. If you are listening in, you want to come in the chat room, come on and do that and ask us questions if you want to.
And if you're listening to the YouTube video on my channel anyway, the show notes will be tacked into there so you can see the notes. Oh, it's going to be a fun one. Just to let people know, if you think I'm sounding tinny, yes, I am. Basically, my PC died 3 days ago, and there is a new motherboard, a new processor on the way. I'm hoping that's all it's going to be. And hopefully, in a couple of weeks, certainly once I get back from my trip, I will definitely be back on it. Hopefully.
Yeah. I hate when that mother goes bad, you know?
Well, it's weird because I got up one morning and it was down. I rebooted it, reset everything up, went to work, came home, and it was down again. And then it booted all of 3 seconds. It wouldn't even get to the BIOS load. So then I noticed that one of the connectors for the monitors was at an angle halfway out. So I'm wondering if he got snagged and that kind of destroyed the motherboard. So I will try and boot it with a new graphics card on Sunday, but please just be patient. I will be back to normal soon enough.
That'd be great. Well, you're not the only one having technical issues lately.
Yeah, sure.
So you're not the only one. Go ahead.
Sorry. Starstorm was asking about the first link. Now, actually, this link that she's posted in the chat room belongs to the L-Pod for today. How am I connecting in? I'm actually using my smartphone to Skype in to the call. And if I try to run Skype on the computer, keep in mind it's only got 2 gigs of RAM in it at the moment because it's going to have roughly the same upgrade as my main PC. So I was looking at this L-Pod earlier today, and I thought, thank you, Starstorm. So if I try to put links in here, I'm going to vanish. So Charles Wood, Chuckwood, depending on how you know him, still does manage to some degree the MoonWiki L-Pod Lunar Picture of the Day. Though it is technically a picture, it's actually a map. And it's a map of the real systems on the moon. And as he puts it, rules for reals. If Asimov can have rules for robots, why can't Wood have rules for reals? So while looking at a complex map of lunar volcanic landforms, he realized that there was more regularity to the distribution of sinuous rills than he'd been aware of. Now, John Guest and John Murray included this fold-out map in their 1976 paper on lunar volcanism. The original map has half the lines and symbols in red indicating a volcanic origin for the features shown. So what he did, he photocopied, to make the sinuous rills more visible, he photocopied it in black and white, and then used a yellow highlighter to trace just sinuous rills. Look at them, have a good look at it and see what patterns you can detect. So here is the Woods Rills rules. Rills originate in mare material. There's only a few exceptions, such as those around Plato, but there may have been lavas under the crater and basin ejecta. They're dominantly in central and western mare. Rill sources, vents occur preferably near outer basin rings or in the area between rings, but not in the inner ring. Rills flow downhill. Sounds like snow, doesn't it? An avalanche. But which almost invariably is towards, or mud in the mudslide, thank you, which invariably is towards the basin centre. Now, the Arcturus Plateau and the Marius Hills have the non-basin concentrations. They're flowing away from their uplifted centres. And it seems that the fact is many sinuous rills have sources near basin rings, which makes sense, for the rings do actually mark major fractures that would have provided conduits for magmas to rise to the surface. The lack of rills in the middle of basins, where there's also a lack of domes, cones, and other volcanic structures. Now, keep in mind that domes and cones on the moon are volcanic in origin. So it's consistent with the surface bending at the margins of basins, which creates conduits on its own, and being compressed in the center due to subsidence into a bowl-shaped cavity. So the concentration of sinuous rills and domes is in the western mare, is a Sprato coincidence with the Polocarum creep terrain, but it's not known if there's actually any physical or geological connection. So writes Chuck Wood. Now, the first link you actually got was actually a link to the paper. You can have a good look at the extract. Given my interest, no doubt I will be buying a copy of that paper, or even actually a copy of the journal it's in for my collection. You know what I'm like. If it's lunar and commentary, I'm interested. And
You've been timed out again.
Pardon?
You've been timed out again.
I've been timed out again. Oops. No, I'm timed out again. That's the only problem at the moment. It's very easy to time me out. They always even time me kangaroo down sport, as they would say down under. Okay, so the next L-pod is actually from the previous day.
Yesterday.
From yesterday. It's the October 11th. But now, and of course, on the website, these are all reposts. So you've got about 5 or 6 years of material which Chuck Wood can actually recycle. And it gives us a good look at the South Pole unwrapped. So this is originally an L-pod from July 28th, 2009. And it looks like the images were taken around July the 15th of the same year. So what's happened is the Lunar and Planetary Lab published what they called the Rectified Lunar Atlas, which showed what the limb regions of the moon look like, with most of the distortions normally due to extreme foreshortening removed. So what happens is it requires a projecting of a terrestrial image of a lunar limb region onto a large white globe, and then rephotographing it from a position above the limb. Now, there is actually software that we amateur astronomers can use, and in this case it's called PlanetWrap, to actually digitally cancel foreshortening. Now, probably all images should be rectified to improve our ability to interpret the surface. So let's see what we can observe on Costa's image acquired during a recent favourable migration back in 2009. So first of all, if you orientate yourself, the South Pole is at the bottom right of the image, and Newton and its cascade of lettered craters are near the top right. So obviously the rectification process exaggerates the limward walls of craters near the image edge. Notice the unequal widths of Drygalski's walls. To the southwest of Newton A, the sun angle of Costa's image reveals a secondary crater chain or of some other type of linear depression that doesn't show up at all in the Clementine mosaic. Now, both images also document the strange smooth area called Castratus E, near the middle of the scene. Since there's no spectral evidence for volcanism this far south, presumably this patch, like the Four of Newton G and other craters, is veneered with ejecta from the formation of the Oriental Basin. As I say, it was done back in 2009, and there are links to the Rukl plates, 72 and 73. So when you think about this is actually shows you how good we as amateurs can get. We have access now to top... Oh, I've been trying to go to the chat room. Hang on a second. I'm coming back. And I've been logged out again.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So, yeah, I'm just trying to get back into the chat so I can... I'm back. Anyway, hey, Uptronics, welcome aboard. Yeah, thank you. That's mapaplanet.org. It's quite a nice site. I really do recommend that when you get a chance, go along and have a look and use some of the data sets there. Because you actually have it's a very, how can I put it, a unique treasure trove. You not only can you do this for the moon, you can do this for Venus, Jupiter, well, not so much Jupiter, but Venus, Mars, certainly. And you can actually get a good look at what the planetary surface would be like given half a chance. Yep, okay, I see there's another. We're getting bombarded with links tonight, Marty.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do the sea sky constellations for October?
No, you go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Way back.
Okay, let me pull this up. This is going to be fun. Hi, Black Projects. Okay, so October constellations. The 7 October constellations include such well-known formations as Aquarius, the Water Bearer, Pegasus, the Winged Horse. The only notable deep sky objects are actually located in those 2 constellations. Aquarius contains 2 globulars and 1 open cluster. Pegasus is home to a single globular star cluster. Now, the remaining October constellations are relatively unremarkable, composing mainly of faint stars with no deep sky objects worthy of mention. This is according to the website. But everybody has their own definition of what is worthy of mention. Mm-hmm. The only bright stars worth mentioning are Aldebaran in Grouse and Fomalhaut in Piscis Australis. You can click on the constellations below and learn more about them. So you have Aquarius, Cephus, Gurus the Crane, Lactata the Lizard, Ocean, Octans the Octant, Pegasus, and of course Piscis Australis, the Southern Fish. Have a good look around. It never hurts to refresh your mind on what the constellations look like, because so many of us, myself included, we have go-to telescopes, and that is how we do our astronomy. We do our imaging is through go-to.
One good reason for knowing the constellations is because when that supernova happens and there's an extra bright star in a constellation, you want to know that it doesn't belong there.
Exactly.
You might be one of the first people to pick it out, just like 1987 supernova that somebody noticed by just going outside and looking up, say, hey, that star doesn't belong there.
Now, Glenn has put a link into the chat room. Magnetism on the moon. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is going to get interesting. Bear in mind, I have very limited RAM at the minute.
When you're talking about rills, it's like a lava tube. Have you ever been in a lava tube?
No, I have been on a volcano before.
Yeah, yes, you can actually go inside lava tubes in Hawaii. I've been in some. And,
of course, Glenn's put a link in from Bing showing magnetic fields and the moon.
Cool.
And some interesting images, because some of those color images that he are on part of his link do actually show the mineral distribution on the moon. So it's not really false color at all. It's actually how light, when processed correctly in an image, is changed from being, it's an ash gray ball of rock. No, it isn't. With careful image processing, you can actually bring out some of the attendant subtleties. Yes, thank you. And of course, there's a couple of very nice images showing the lunar magnetic field and of course the lunar core and regolith.
What little core and magnetic field there is in the moon.
Yeah.
Pretty
And of course, Quiet in the Woods says he's been in a lava tube in Craters of the Moon National Park. Brilliant.
Oh, nice.
Now, the other cool thing is, with it being October, we all know that we're heading towards Halloween. So, a couple of good links there from Seren Books, Dark Land, Dark Skies. It takes a trip through the Welsh night sky, and relating it to the epic Welsh stories of the Mabinogion. And of course, there's another one there. Thank you, Starstorm, relating to the Viking Norse traditions as well. So
mostly what things were called.
Basically, mostly what things were called and why and how. And interestingly, you will find quite a few common names that we still use today. Like, for instance, Thursday was originally Thor's Day, and Friday was Frigga Day or Frigga's Day. So the names that we use today, it gives you an insight into where they actually came from.
Sunday,
yeah.
Moon Day.
Yeah.
I think Tuesday translates into Mars Day.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Except for Saturday, Saturn Day.
Yeah.
You also have an idea of what they would call Canis Major.
Yeah, there's also some information on what the stars were called in the Nordic lands as well. Hi, Redshirt 3, glad you could make it. Yeah, I'm a bit tinny today. We're having communications issues. I think the captain's going to be having a few words with our communications officer. Only kidding. Got to get the Star Trek references in there somehow.
Don't worry, I'll get us out of here tonight.
I'm sure, anyway.
Yeah, that's yeah. But the thing is, I'm borrowing Iron Man's armor, so I'm perfectly safe. Yeah, it's actually quite cool. I actually use it occasionally when we want to wind up some of the how can I put it without getting into trouble? Zealots at work.
Careful.
Yeah, I'll use the word zealots at work. They don't like it when it's called Thor's Day. Yeah, I can't see over there, I forget.
Canis Major was known as the Great Wagon.
Yeah, Canis Major was known as the Great Wagon in the Nordic traditions. There you go. Something you didn't know today. You do now.
There you go.
What do you know?
The more you know, the better off you are. Go on, Marty.
Sometimes.
Go for a story.
Let's see. Yeah, well, I wanted to hit. Let's hit. Let's say you're talking about technology glitches. Let's hit this major technology glitch that happened yesterday or the day before, with a couple of astronauts trying to go to the space station. American astronaut Nick Hague and Russian cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin. I think that's how it's pronounced. They didn't get to the space station. They launched and had a booster malfunction and had to abort the trip after they were up a little way. So I think they called it a ballistic reentry. I'm not too sure what that meant, and I'm not too sure if the escape tower fired off or if they parachuted down or what they did. But yeah, they did not make it, but they did land safely
in Kazakhstan.
Yep, and were recovered, and they went back to Russian Space Agency, and there was a NASA official watching launch in Russia also. So he says, "Yep, they're gonna do some investigating also, and figure out what went wrong with that launch."
I'm wondering if it's. I was talking to Black Projects earlier today, and I agree with him. Maybe somebody fitted something upside down and whacked it in with a hammer. And then we had a malfunction.
you just never know. I was listening to a replay of the launch, and it took a while for them to acknowledge an issue. So because they said something about the boosters, but their announcer was still talking after booster separation, and it kept on going for a little bit. Then announced a failure with the booster, saying maybe one booster hit another booster, but didn't make quite sense. I don't know. So there's going to be some investigation. There'll be a little bit of time before we hear anything about it. But the safety system,
2-3 years.
maybe not that bad, but the safety system definitely failed. I know the safety system definitely engaged. So even a failure, partway heading up, they were able to land safely, and both astronauts are in very good condition.
Well, from what I understand, one of the versions I heard was that one of the boosters, instead of following its proper trajectory, turned around and whacked the rocket one, which caused everything to go into the fail-safe.
So you mean it missteered? Is what you're saying in the booster? Okay.
Yeah.
There's usually gimbaled nozzles on the bottom of those that help basically steer it, and I think there might be some extra rockets too.
But basically, as Bat Project is pointing out, the liquid-fueled strap-on boosters may have hit the core booster.
Okay.
So, of course, as Richard 3 points out, the escape tower fired normally.
Okay.
Ballistic re-entry is at a steeper angle, which basically is faster and is also more Gs.
Okay, at chute opening. So there's a little bit of a harder thump on them when that chute opened up on them.
But when you think back to how it was actually envisaged that the command capsule was supposed to separate from an Apollo rocket in that same scenario, or in a scenario where the engine was on the right at the point of blowing up and out of control. Mm-hmm. The idea was that the escape tower would rip the command module off the tower and everything. It would give it a whacking great boost, and then they would do a ballistic return. And of course, as Wally Schirra pointed out just before his mission, he was not happy about having the early block.
The what? I lost you there, Nick. Lost you? All right. Well, maybe it's you, Nick. So I'll keep talking, or if you can hear me, you keep talking, and we'll get our technician to figure out why I don't hear you if it's you or me, or if anybody hears me. So we'll find out from chat who can hear who. All right. I think I hear you something, Nick.
Can you hear me now?
Got you, Nick. All right.
Okay. So basically, his concern was that if they had to use the escape tower, and they were planned to do a splashdown, but if the wind had been sufficient, it could have blown the command module capsule back over land. Mm-hmm. And the big worry, of course, being that if that was going to be the case, would the actual early block seats survive a actual physical impact on the land?
Mm-hmm. So I wonder what would happen if the Russian mission actually landed in the water. Is it capable of doing that? Compared to like the American mission, are they capable of landing on land? Don't know. I wondered. We'll have to look that up sometime.
Okay.
You're a little broken up. Gotcha.
Yeah.
A little broken up there. Gotcha. Go ahead, Nick.
It was weird because my Wi-Fi's come back.
Okay. I got you though. Oh, let's go on with what else is in stuff that's in the sky coming up. Yesterday we had. Did anybody see Jupiter near the moon? It should have been a pretty nice view of the crescent moon. I had some clouds and couldn't be able to see it. Coming up on Sunday, we got Mercury 7 degrees north of the planet Venus. So they're really low for Northern Hemisphere observers. They're really low near the western horizon. So definitely going to be a challenge. Southern Hemisphere observers have a much better view of Mercury and Venus. So if you haven't seen Mercury in a while or at all, look for the planet and then look just north of Venus. Look for the planet Venus, then just look north of there, and you might be able to pick out Mercury. Probably need binoculars for that one. And on Monday, we got Saturn pretty close to the moon, only 1.8 degrees south of the moon, so that's going to be a pretty nice view. Well, it says Monday, but that actually should be 7 Sunday night for me here because it's 3 hours into the time. And 11, so it'd be about 11 o'clock in the evening, something like that. I've been noticing the planets are setting much earlier and earlier. Things are getting really low. I was looking a little while ago, and Saturn was starting to set just a little while ago, about 8:30 or so. So that's just about gone. But Mars is still out there to the south and southwest in the early part of the evening, and the storms are starting to clear. I did see some more detail, but they still have not been able to get Opportunity up and running yet. So still working on that. Don't know if there's maybe dust on the solar panels now that might be blocking out enough sunlight to keep it from fully charging the batteries or partially to get a signal through. They're still working on it. They say that between November and December, there can be some clearing, like maybe some high winds or something, without kicking up dust that might actually be able to blow off some of the dust off that rover. And they might get enough dust off of it. They not too sure how much dust is on the solar panel. So maybe sometime between November and January, it says, that they might get them cleared enough for them to get a signal to. Still trying it, not giving up yet. So we'll see what happens. Opportunity did have a pretty good run, though. Each rover, Spirit and Opportunity, were really designed to last about 90 days. And they lasted 15 years, something like that. Not so bad. A pretty good mission extension, I'd say. Got you back in, Nick? By any chance? All right, I'll keep on going. I got an alert notice from the American Association of Variable Star Observers. They want a star observed because what they're going to be doing is observing it through the Chandra X-ray Observatory. The first target they're going to be looking at is KQ Monoceros, and that is just east of Orion the Hunter. So it's coming up about 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Variable star between 12th and 15th magnitude for the most part. It's kind of a weird system. Produces X-rays, but it's bright when the star is dim in the X-ray. So when optically, when it's kind of dim as a variable, the X-rays are really bright. And then just the opposite. It's when it's brighter in optical light, it's actually dimmer in X-rays. Kind of a strange system. They're trying to figure out why is that. So they're going to be looking at with the Chandra and trying to understand its X-ray emissions. But they do want visual observers to look at the star, and actually there's about half a dozen stars to look at. So look at the AAVSO website, look at the alert notice number 652, and it has an observing campaign for observing this star in white light and monitoring it, keeping a good record of the brightness of the star, and then they'll compare it to X-ray images and see if they confirm its anomalies. So then there's about half a dozen more stars. Let me put that link into our chat room for everybody so you can check that out. Where's our chat? There it is. All right, here we go. Come up. There it is. All right, check that out. Do a little observing. I picked Nick picked 7 constellations to go for. I picked one that we'll talk about in just a minute. Let's do a little bit of station identification. You're listening to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. It is another Friday evening, and this one happens to be October the 12th, 2018, 9:30 in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America. Universal time, we put it at about 1:30 in the morning, October the 13th, 2018. So we still have another half hour of live programming for you to listen to, and then after that, probably our usual lineup of programs. So continue on. We got 4-hour blocks, so another 3.5 hour 3.5 hours of more programming before we repeat the whole series again every 4 hours for the next 24 hours. So stick with us after the show and keep listening in if you like to. Appreciate that. I want to say hi to everybody that's in our chat room tonight. We've got me, we've got Andre, Glenn, Starstorm, Recon, In the Quiet Wood, Optronics, Nick, and Redshirt 3 so far. Glad to have you all listening in and being part of our astronomy show tonight. One thing I get with at least one of our radio directors is how many shows have I done and how many people have listened in. I was kind of crunching some quick numbers, and I think it's getting kind of close to about 1 million listeners to my shows. Now, we've had, obviously, 2-3 times that of listeners overall, but just during my shows, I think I've done about shows for about 1 million people. Now, I'm going to crunch those numbers and let you know. We'll shoot for a milestone. If it hasn't been 1 million listeners in, we'll see if we can figure out a date and time. Maybe we'll make a little contest out of it of when I will be having 1 million listeners. That be something for a little bit of fun. Bright stars being occulted by the moon. Let's see, we've got one coming up. I think it was tonight. Was Gamma Libra was occulted by the moon in Polynesia. I just discovered something new about this list. It lists the whole list of stars that are occulted by the moon and where they're being occulted from. For instance, Gamma Libra is only visible from Polynesia. Then the moon's going to be kind of going through Sagittarius, several stars in Sagittarius in various spots. But I found out when I click on the star, it actually shows me a map of the occultation zone. I haven't seen that before. Never thought about clicking on that highlighted designation. So let me put that into our chat room here. And you can check out this map of where the occultation will be visible from. So instead of just saying, Central South America, you can actually check out the map and find out, where it's going to be occulted. So, hey, Optronics, I think you're going to have a occultation of a 3.5 magnitude star coming up in a couple more days. So, and there's more to come also, so check that out. Found a little bit more detail on this chart. That's kind of cool. All right, let's see where we want to go to next. I also did a little bit more detail on asteroid occultation, and I'm going to be whittling down the list for shows every week so we can get some quick answers of asteroid occultations to people that can basically eliminate the ones that are more difficult to see. So, for instance, on October the 15th, we got an asteroid named 350, that's a designation, Ornamenta. It's 12.5 magnitude. It's going to go in a 12.7 magnitude asteroid, and it's going to cover a 12.8 magnitude star. So that would be really difficult to see dimming. So what we really want to find is a dim asteroid covering a bright star. Bright about you get is about 10th magnitude or something like that. So here's one asteroid designated 1942 Jablonka, magnitude 15.3, so it'll be really hard to see, but it's going to cover a 10.8 magnitude star. So in order to see the quote-unquote asteroid, all you have to do is look at this 10th magnitude star at the right time and actually watch it blink out by what will appear to be an invisible asteroid at 15th magnitude. And that's actually going to happen throughout Europe in October the 15th. Just a sample. So there's several of them that are dim, really, really dim asteroids and reasonably bright stars that'll be occulting. So I'm going to try to compile a list weekly of ones to look for, and we'll kind of run down them very quickly. And then you could try your own asteroid observations. It's not that hard. All you have to have is, if you have a 6-inch telescope and looking at a 10th magnitude star at the right time and just watch it blink out, you just saw an asteroid go in front of a star, one that would be normally too faint for eye to actually see. So I'm going to tighten up the list for us each week and give some observations. Hopefully, some people will actually try some observations of these asteroids themselves. Let me put the link in. This, the general link, is asteroidoccultations.com. Let me put that into our chat room here. There we go. Go through the website and just start trying some occultations.
Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Got you, Nick. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I was just, before I got rudely interrupted by Skype.
Technology.
I wanted to comment on something that Red Shirt 3 said. He said it's to do with the chutes opening. Boosters do what they call a Korolev maneuver and fall back to Earth. Basically, what it is the Korolev maneuver is a complete backflip on the booster separation.
Ah.
So it sounds like somebody did an Ariane on them, misprogrammed it, and ended up whacking the core booster in the process. So not good.
Not to be compared to a Corbomite maneuver.
Corbomite maneuver, yeah.
Corbomite maneuver, yes. But similar, I imagine.
No, this with a Corbomite maneuver, it really does make you think, well, I can't detect this substance. There's nothing in the ship's records. Do I really want to hang around in case they really do mean it?
That's right. I wanted to cover like one Messier object, if we can remember to do that too, a week real quick. And this one is going to be not one in the constellation that you mentioned tonight. This one will be in M30, in the constellation of Copernicus, or Capricornus, I should say. Sorry.
Copernicus is a crater on
That's
the moon.
a crater. I realized it when I said it. Capricornus is the constellation. By the way, that's actually the constellation that the planet Mars is in right now. And M30 is just a little bit east of the main stars of this constellation. It's a globular cluster. Its distance is about 27,000 light years from Earth, and it lies at about a distance of 22,000 light years from the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It's also designated NGC 7099. Not too bad of a cluster. It's visible through a small telescope or binoculars at a little bit dimmer than 7th magnitude, so pretty easy to pick out. It is about 93 light years in diameter. And it's actually doing a retrograde motion through our galaxy. So it's thought that it was probably not formed with the Milky Way galaxy, even though its age is almost 13 billion years old. But they thought it must have been formed from another galaxy that collided with our own Milky Way galaxy, and is giving it a little bit of a backwards rotation through our own Milky Way galaxy. The solar masses, solar mass equivalent of about 160 suns, but thought to have about 150,000 stars in this one. And they're actually kind of dense towards the center. It has what they call a kind of a core collapse, where the stars are kind of crunched down towards the middle, and they thought that, they must create a lot of binary stars and some mass transfer. So unlike a normal galaxy, this one is actually bluer towards the center. Regular galaxies actually bluer on the outside and yellower towards the middle. This globular cluster is pretty much the opposite. It's bluer in the middle, where there's been some stellar interactions.
Normally with most galaxies, the older stars are towards the core, and the younger, most of the star formation is being done out on the edges of the galaxy. Yeah, I'm sorry if I sound like a local train tunnel.
Yeah,
The only one I know about that's any good for this type of thing is actually when you go into St Pancras International and Thameslink King's Cross, because then you've got I suppose it is like the approach to Penn Station as well. I mean, but
the difference is that the outer stars have kind of crashed into the inner portion and interacted with stars, and it's mass transferred and actually added mass to some of the stars there and made them bluer.
It's interesting. That means if they're going burning bluer, that means they're burning their fuel
burning hotter. Yep. So basically, somebody threw fuel on the fire in the core.
Yeah, get a nice big can of galactic petrol and chucked it in there.
it.
Probably a good reason we really don't want to send our nuclear waste into the sun, I suppose.
Well, that's true too. Plus, it might not get there. We shouldn't put nuclear waste on the sun. We should always store it in the backside of the moon.
Yeah, make the moon one giant starship.
Yes.
Saying that, Marty, we did actually lose a member of the Space 1999 cast this week.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, Zena Mortain, who played Sandra Baines in Main Mission, she died recently. So we'll miss you. We'll miss you. And like Mumbai Salfa, you're out there looking back, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Meteor showers this week. Let's go over that. A little bit of a misprint in the American Meteor Society thing. It's like, kind of obvious there. It says, during this period, the moon will reach its new phase on Tuesday, October the 16th. And I'm thinking, we already passed new moon, so that's not right. And it says the moon will be located 90 degrees east of the sun. That's not right. So, yeah, a little misprint. What they mean is it's going to be at first quarter on the 16th. The Draconids meteors were just a few days ago. They peaked. They actually had an outburst, they said. People reporting much increased activity, like, what did they say, like 5 times as many meteors as usually visible. So,
if memory serves me right, the Draconids is fueled by
Giacobini's Inner. Yes,
yeah.
Which just passed by. So they thought it just kind of reinvigorated the meteor shower when it passed by. So somebody got a nice outburst. So
because the Draconids aren't exactly a particularly brilliant one. You're lucky to get 1 or 2 an hour, if that.
Yep, that's correct.
But
don't disparage a weak meteor shower, especially after a comet just goes by.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we got meteor showers this week. We've got Epsilon Geminids peaking on the 11th. That was yesterday. On the 15th, we've got the October Ursa Majorids peaking. Let's see what else we got. In October the 22nd, the Leonis Minorids will be peaking. So get out there and do some observing. Oh, the Orionids also on October the 22nd. And the Southern Turds on the 29th.
Kind of nice. The last couple of mornings I've been out to check the manual rain gauge, and even with all the clouds, I've had the occasional rift in them. Mm-hmm. And there was Orion looking over my shoulder as I actually measured. I think this morning I got about 0.74 of an inch of rain overnight. Mm-hmm. So old Orion was looking as I measured it off and reported it.
Where was I going to go? I was going to have no. That's another night.
Gotcha.
Oh, I might as well put a plug in for Space Pirate Radio, because on the 31st would be a Wednesday. That is Halloween night, and I usually do my usual program, kind of based on Phil Plate's book of, I think it's called Death from the Skies or something like that. I have to look it up again, where he talks about all the things out in space that can basically kill you. So I like to do that for Halloween. That's what will be coming up in a few weeks on October the 31st. A little Halloween astronomy.
Have you got a costume ready for Halloween, Marty?
No, but I'll have something.
I should be wearing my Starfleet uniform to work. I'm going to make it a little bit more Halloweeny by having a Harry Potter wand attached to my sleeve.
All right. What color's your shirt?
Gold.
That's Command, I think, right?
Yes. I've also got Science Blue as well, but Starstorm has bagged that one. My Science Blue top. And trying to who would be interested in creating problems for Roscosmos? Nobody really. It's probably just a disaffected worker who bodged at something and he tried to cover it up. And of course, as usual, paranoia sets in, and the usual. We go back to the usual game of they did it, no, they didn't. You did it to yourself, and it's almost as if we're sinking back into the Cold War. really, with this silly thing. Mistakes happen, and the important thing is, A, it was noticed. B, it was in an area that isn't really a major issue for the spacecraft because it's the part that burns up anyway. So assigning international blame is probably not a good idea. More likely, it should be a case of having a clean broom around your own house and just finding out who exactly works on that particular part of the capsule, and then have a word with them in no uncertain terms. And for Russia, no uncertain terms means, comrade, we have a party for you. Please come here. Put the blindfold on. Shoot a. So, it wouldn't surprise me because it is a major embarrassment for them. But having said that, in the good old days, of course, it never happened, and the person involved was quietly vanished. And yes, he was invited to a private party where there were 6 other guys with rifles, and he had the blindfold on.
There you go.
It will be sorted out, I'm sure. You can't spacewalk without being seen on the ISS. There's so many cameras that have just left feeding the internet with images of the space station and everything else. It would be impossible to spacewalk to the Soyuz, drill a hole in it, and not be detected. Well, yeah, I suppose in their case, someone is out to get them. In their case, the KGB, basically. Or the RVS, as they're now called. But as I say, the big problem is somebody obviously got really upset with their boss at work, thought they'd be a bit stupid, regretted it, can't cover it up. It got uncovered, unfortunately, in the worst possible place. But trying to say, it was one of the international astronauts, isn't going to wash because there's too many people watching those feeds 24/7.
Well, more investigations will come out, and maybe there will be an answer, or maybe not. We'll see.
I don't think we'll get an answer. I think they'll investigate. They'll find out who did it. They'll be invited to a private party.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
Just never know anymore. So. Wait and see. Got a couple things to investigate. Got that, the hole in the capsule on the booster malfunction. So there's always a little something going wrong in dangerous places.
Well, the thing is, Musk is gearing up for his manned launches. Steve Bezos is gearing up. They've both got NASA contracts for commercial crew, and that is to the ISS and beyond. So
that'd be nice.
It would be nice, yes.
They get the Hubble service. That would be really great too, because it's lost some of its reaction wheels. Was it? I can't remember.
One of the gyros has developed a fault. Now, theoretically, it can run on 2 gyros. But they really want to investigate it from the ground. And to be honest, with Super Dragon, with Wild Blue Yonder, we have the capability to seriously look at saying, well, you know what, we can go back to the Hubble, we can do a servicing mission. We know how to do this, folks. It's not as if this is something totally beyond a possibility. So, yeah, with Orion and everything else on the cards, SLS, it will be happy.
That'd be nice to get back into some repair missions for existing satellites. SOHO has been out there a long time, so that's could use some repair, but that's really far out. That's about 1 million miles away from the Earth, so that would definitely be. I think
SOHO more likely would be a replacement job.
I think so too.
One thing going to the Hubble. It's really another thing going out to fix SOHO. SOHO would need a complete replacement.
But if you get the craft out there, there's a lot more robotic capability than there has been in the past. So it's possible to do a robotic mission to the SOHO telescope. That's definitely a possibility. Bring it in close in the near Earth orbit and work on it. Upgrade it. That'd be pretty nice to have an upgraded solar telescope.
Then you've got to do a very messy job, which is called refueling,
Mm-hmm.
and take it back out there.
Yeah, you do that.
So,
do that robotically, without being a manned mission. All that much the better. Got a little article on a simulation of a pulsar. Computer simulation about how the fields, the electric fields and the particles go around a pulsar. Didn't know they know so little about pulsars, but there's some pretty cool stuff there. Electrons turning into positrons, things of different energies at different altitudes around pulsars. I think I put that link into our chat room.
Now, Marty's going to have to be my Google person.
Okay.
Glenn is saying, is the Hubble inside the Van Allen belt, the Earth side of it? No, I think it's further out than the Van Allen belts.
Oh, I didn't think so. I thought Hubble is only about 350 miles up, which I think is still within the Van Allen belts.
Well, unfortunately, as I say, if I try to Google this, I'm going to be kicked out of chat.
That's all right. I'll Google it, or one of our one of our chat room people can do that too. But I'll try to do that. Go ahead and talk on something, and then I'll
okay.
Google
So as I say, I think the important thing is with the fact we have commercial crew now, we can perhaps look to go. We can certainly speed up the process for man on Mars or man to Mars. I think again, like Apollo, the first manned mission to Mars will be, let's go there, we'll orbit, we'll practice, and then we will come back. We can then train the international astronautical team to go to do the actual manned landing. And as Optronics is also pointing out, how can you put on a spacesuit without nobody seeing it? It takes about an hour to do that. And of course, you've also got to purge any of the nitrogen out of your system as well, because most of the suits, I believe, are using positive oxygen, particularly for MMU stuff. So again, even thinking about taking an unannounced spacewalk, this doesn't happen. It is at least 2 or 3 people involved. The astronaut who's going to go do the spacewalk, and at least 2 people to suit him up. So it takes a while, and it's kind of obvious to everybody on the space station that someone is getting ready to go EVA.
I'd say so. All right, got an answer here. Hubble's altitude about 350 miles. The Van Allen belts start at about 310 miles. So I'd say it's probably the lower section of the Van Allen belts, probably not deeply embedded into it, but in the lower portion of the belts from what I can tell.
And of course, we know for a fact that it is safe for astronauts to go into the Van Allen belts to a point.
Limited amount of time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they're doing a lot more studies on high altitude airplane flights. If you go look at spaceweather.com, they're always doing those tests. Yeah. And they've set up radiation meters on high altitude balloons. They even send them into airplanes too, and you definitely get an increase the higher in altitude you go, even in an airplane, compared to being at ground level.
One of the things that is well accepted is that airlines change their routes. If there's a solar storm going on, we have a CME and it does actually impact on the Earth, they will significantly change the route of the aircraft to a more safer part of the sky. So the closer to the poles you are, the more risk there is of radiation.
Well, the magnetic poles, that's radiation from the sun, but cosmic radiation, stuff coming from the rest of the Milky Way galaxy, is prevalent all over, and it's just an issue of altitude. The higher the altitude you are, the more cosmic radiation you get.
So in everyday life, you are exposed to a certain dosage on a daily basis.
Yes. But the higher altitude you go, the more you get irradiated.
Well, yeah, because they're talking about going back to supersonic and hypersonic aircraft for passengers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Concorde and everything flew at a much higher altitude than the regular 747s did.
Yep.
Now, of course, some of the concept aircraft that Boeing and a few other corporations produced were flying even higher than that. So theoretically, you could see. I believe I don't know. I'd have to ask Black Projects, but I believe that if Concorde was to fly at its maximum altitude, and it can go it can go slightly above its advertised ceiling, you would possibly get to see a slight curvature of the Earth. With the hypersonic aircraft, particularly that Boeing were postulating, and there's a big word for you this time of night, they were talking about being even higher. They're flying up in the areas of the sky where the U-2s and the SR-71s went.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those pilots had to wear pressure suits.
Yes.
At all times.
Well, it was just the way that the was designed. The airplane was designed. They could have pressurized the cabin, but that would have been more structural material in the cabin to do that, which means more weight, so less fuel efficiency. So it would have been more fuel efficient for them just to wear a pressure suit at those high altitudes. It was more of a fuel efficiency thing than anything else.
But with the Hyper Dreamliner, it was definitely going to be very much, you would see the curvature of the Earth. The idea was, of course, to be able to fly from London to Sydney, or Washington, or New York to Sydney in a very short, high altitude hop.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there were various designs using ideas from Space Race to do about you having a capsule which would do a very high vertical trajectory and go ballistic, literally, to do Washington to Sydney in 2 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of interesting concept ideas coming out of the early Apollo stuff for that, and I am keeping an eye on the time. And
it's all right. We got a few minutes yet. We're going to keep going.
We've got about a couple of minutes left. The music is about 1 minute. So, as I say, faster you go, the higher you have to go. The higher you go, the more cosmic radiation you're exposed to.
Yep.
So it is a trade-off. Yeah,
yes.
we did mention Concorde.
It's mostly a matter of how much time you spend at raised exposure levels too.
Yeah.
So
that was one of the reasons they wanted the speed. To go hypersonic, that meant there was less time spent getting exposed.
Yep. So obviously, less problem for passengers than it is for crew that normally do that. So flight crew and attendants will have more exposure and higher risk of issues with more exposure.
I can just imagine the reaction to passengers boarding aircraft in the future, where all the flight crew are wearing little radiation film badges. Oh, do I need to be worried?
Well, yeah, I think we'd be surprised at how many general flying passengers do not realize how much cosmic radiation they're actually getting exposed to. Well, it's getting to be that time, everybody. I want to thank everybody that's been in our chat room tonight. Really appreciate all of you joining us, and of course everybody listening in. Don't forget, we're going to repeat. We've got more programming coming up, and we're going to have repeat those programs every 4 hours for the next 24 hours.
I really wish we could have orbital rocket transport. That would be really, really awesome.
Yep. I think it's time, Nick. Can you call us?
Captain Savick, the away team is ready to beam up. Free to beam up. Good night, everyone.
Get ready. Here we go. Good night, everybody.
We hope that you've enjoyed this program from AFM Radio, the broadcast service of Astronomy.fm. This program has been released under Creative Commons license. Please contact us for details. You may find more of our AFM original programs on our website. It's really easy to find us. We are astronomy.fm. You may also find us in the iTunes radio listings near the top of the News Talk section, and also as an iTunes podcast selection. We'd love to hear your comments. Please email us at radio@astronomy.fm. Thanks so much for being part of the voice of astronomy around the world and across the known universe. This is astronomy.fm radio.
Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
There I was, doing my thing, and all of a sudden, wham! Astronomy right between the eyes.